Toby.
Hello, Joe. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Very good, very good.
On to episode number 2.
Ep 2.
Ep 2. Meet the founders.
Pod 2.
This one's all about you, Tobes.
Not sure how I feel about that.
You're excited to delve into your past and share with our audience your life stories.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Your wisdom. Cool. All right. Why don't you just, to begin, just talk through a bit around what you do at Placeable, what your role is, kind of maybe how that has changed over the past year or so.
Sure. So my role really is completely delivery focused. So I look after most of our key clients, and that goes for everything from taking briefs to managing the process. But as far as where my time's actually spent, I'd say day to day, predominantly I'm speaking to new candidates who have come back to our outreach about a particular role that we've reached out to them about on LinkedIn generally.
Yeah.
So let's just say if you looked at my diary, it's just blocks of my favourite colour, forest green. And forest green represents a new call with a candidate. Right?
But what about your other favourite colour? Orange.
Orange.
Orange. Is that client calls?
That's just extremely important reminders.
Okay.
Lots of them in there as well.
Yeah, loads of them.
Yeah, like wake up, have lunch, all that kind of
And
stuff.
of course, you know, your delivery focus, you come from a background of recruitment, so you kind of know what you're doing in that sense. Do you want to talk through perhaps maybe the earliest stage of your journey before starting Placeable?
Yeah, sure. So do you mean in terms of, my professional journey or?
Well, whenever you want to start, but your journey of, of getting to where you are today as both a person and a professional.
Yeah, good question. So I suppose I had, ever since I was really, really young, I have always been quite naughty and mischievous.
Yes, I can confirm that's from the age of about 4.
Yeah. I think even ever since my younger brother was born, I think I had a bit of a jealousy complex, like older kids do sometimes. So I caused a lot of trouble. I struggled with authority throughout school. I remember my mum always says she was in school pretty much a couple of times a week to see the headmistress. Toby's done this and Toby's kicked someone in the playground or something along those lines. Nothing to be proud of, right? But this is the past is the past, and it's the truth, unfortunately. So yeah, growing up, I did quite well at school. I was academic up to my GCSEs before it all fell off, and I think I kind of got quite excited in my probably later years of my school and enjoyed the freedom that comes with getting a bit older, right, where you can do more stuff and all that kind of thing. So yeah, kind of left school and didn't really have I didn't have a plan, right? So I think the making of me and like one big part of my life is probably when I went to Australia, which was I think it was October 2013. Went to Australia for 4 months, 18, baby face. I had a beard, but it was one of those horrible chin strap beards.
I remember that.
Yeah, it looked horrific. Yeah. But no, spent 4 months there, and it was, the classic kind of, without using a cliche, it was boy to a man stuff, and got a job out there, and that's where my sales career started. I think I always knew when I was younger I was good at talking to people, and I liked getting to know people, right? Like whoever it was, I knew that everyone had a story, and I wanted to kind of know why that was, and I was really naturally inquisitive and curious. So I went to Australia, had a great time, sold milk and fresh groceries, made a few sales, not many. I wasn't that great. I was probably there more for the fun of it, but it was a commission only job, so you had to work hard to make a bit of money, and I didn't have much money at the time. And so yeah, came home, worked in the famous call centre, had a good time there. But again, lots of lessons, speaking to loads of different people, being told to, Foxtrot Oscar and all that kind of stuff. And then I think, throughout the next couple of years of my career, I really tried a whole load of different things. And I think that was a massive blessing for me. Was I felt like I had almost like a free go at work, because all of my friends were in uni. They were on 3 to 4 to 5 year courses or degrees. And I was essentially given this free reign to do loads of different jobs. So
do you feel that not going to university was a blessing for you? It was something that made you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I now realise that there's things that I definitely could have benefited from had I gone to university, right? Like there's nothing. I love seeing a LinkedIn profile which has got the full package. But with that being said, and what I mean by that is, a great degree from a great university, and it definitely means something. But I think for, the career that we're in now, I don't think a degree necessarily would have benefited. And I think actually the experience I gained in that time was far more worthwhile. So I tried loads of different jobs. I worked in recruitment. I worked as an estate agent. I think when people hear that I worked in recruitment and estate agency, they kind of, would say, why are you picking jobs with a stigma attached to them? And they always used to think my next job was going to be like a parking ticket
Car
officer.
salesperson.
Or that. Yeah.
It's doing the rounds.
Correct. Yeah. So no, but I worked in an estate agency. I wanted to get into tech. Because I thought, tech's where the money is and tech's growing, and the classic when you don't really know about tech. So I transitioned, and I kind of thought, how do I get into tech? Well, I've got some property knowledge. I've got some understanding in that space. Let's look at property technology, so prop tech. So I got into prop tech, really early stage business, about 7 people, worked at the company until they grew to probably 30 odd people, seed funding and whatnot. They took a fairly early acquisition. Went from the classic startup journey. I think we were subletting a corridor office space in a really old rubbish building in Holborn. And post-acquisition, we went up to the 28th floor of the Shard. Wow. So, really interesting 18 months. And then I just kind of fell into recruitment. I met my old boss who I thought was actually going to pitch me a job in prop tech. And he kind of said, well, have you thought about recruitment? And I said, oh no, everyone hates recruiters. Like, absolutely not. I've been an estate agent. I've been there, and like once is enough, I don't want to be egged again. But he kind of said, well, have a think about it because there's a lot of good. And I did. And I came around to it. I went on holiday. I came back and had really thought about it. And did that for 3 years before kind of starting Placeable.
And what do you think? Obviously, you went through a whole variety of different jobs, and pretty much all of them have this theme of like putting yourself out there. Door knocking to sell milk, call center, estate agent, recruitment. All of them require a lot of resilience. Do you think that was something that you were born with? Do you think it was something that you built as you went through those early stages of your career?
That's a really good question. I think it was a bit of both. I think when I was younger, I was never afraid to speak my mind. And that's what got me in trouble a lot of the time, is I wasn't a loudmouth, but I never shied away from giving my opinion on things. When I probably should have kept my mouth shut. So I think it definitely is a trait that's been with me, throughout and forever. But I think, resilience isn't always something that you're born with. It can be developed, right? And I think each of those experiences, something was learned, the skin was thickened. But I actually think that I'm actually quite sensitive now.
Oh, you are?
So it's interesting how it all works.
No, it is. And of course, resilience is something that is always paired with being a business owner. How have you found the transition from being an employee to being a business owner?
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting because my role hasn't changed drastically, right? I'm still kind of at the coalface and on the front line of recruitment. So what I'm actually doing isn't hugely different. It's not worlds apart from what it was as an employee. But I think the difference, being I suppose an owner, like you say, as opposed to an employee, is you care more, right? And this is something that we found out in our first week.
Oh yes.
In fact, our first day, we were like, right, we need to drum up some business, and we need to get some clients on. And Joey and I spent, king of strategy over here.
King of strategy.
3 hours putting together an email.
What a great email it was. Though.
Yeah, that obviously got no response.
Of course.
And I can guarantee it almost probably went into. In fact, if we knew at the time, it would have gone into junk anyway.
It would have. Yeah, but it was that day is one of my favourite memories of since we started.
Yeah, 100%.
Because of how catastrophically bad it was, and how we went for a drink afterwards and just shook our head and went, "Cool, don't know if we're cut out for this."
Yeah.
And I think, you mentioned caring more. Is there anything else that?
Yeah, I think you care more, and I think because you care more, you put more into it.
Yeah.
So I care more about what I'm actually doing. I'm more detail oriented. I'm more meticulous. I work harder because I care more. But I also work harder because I enjoy what I do more, right? Like I can see, I think the most fulfilling thing for me personally is knowing that we've created something out of nothing. And knowing that you've got that freedom where you don't rely on anyone, you don't rely on someone to pay you. And I think that's the most liberating feeling.
Without a doubt. Yeah. That creating something from nothing it's a weird feeling, especially I think when you're employed and you have that consistent paycheck coming in month after month, you kind of lose the value in that. However, when it's come from nothing and you see that money hit your account, you're a bit like, "Ooh, that was pretty special." And so you came from not being a business owner. What do you think is the most important lesson or learning that you could kind of share for anyone else that's starting to think about their business, having just started it? What's the most important lesson?
I think, there's so many that spring to mind. I think the most important lesson is that there are so many losses and low points, right? You're never going to just win straight away, and you typically have to, climb that mountain and go through a lot of difficult times before you reach the peak, and then there's another peak, right? Yeah. There's always an upwards journey. But I'd say it's like the best analogy I can probably use is it's like golf, right? When you start playing golf, and sorry if you don't play golf, but you'll understand anyway. When you start playing golf, you're rubbish at golf, and you go for a round of golf, you hit a bunch of shots. Most of them are horrendous. Some of them you don't even hit the ball. But when you hit that one shot that comes right out of the middle of the club and flies and it's perfect, it's that overwhelming sense of joy.
How often does that happen, Sobs?
Well, practice makes perfect, right?
Of course it does.
The more you practice, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
But there's so many small losses and they're really demotivating. But that one small win is what makes you think, right, I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to try and get there again.
And how do you pick yourself? You talk about small losses there. There's a lot of them. How do you repeatedly pick yourself back up, get back on the horse when they stack up?
I think it's the knowledge that there's always going to be a win.
Yeah.
And it's like cold calling, right? And this is why I think being an SDR, a sales development rep, and being someone who's drumming up business, I think that's such a character building job, and one of the most undervalued jobs in sales and in general, because there is a win in there, right? If there's 100 calls, your win could be the first one, but it could also be the last. And those people that are willing to take so many losses because they've got confidence that based on the science, there just will be a win there. That's what kind of keeps you going. But it's very easy to get demotivated, and I think that's why so many businesses fail, right?
Without a doubt. I think kind of coming back onto kind of employment, obviously we're going to be looking to scale the business soon. We're creating something called the Founders Project, which is where people join us, go through a 3-year structured training program where you're taught the lessons of how to start a business, and then get funding at the end of it. And we tell them to go away, spread their wings and start their own business. What kind of manager do you think you're going to be to the people that we bring in?
I think because I've been in quite a lot of these jobs, and because I've always been quite comfortable with being at the face of it, right? I know that strategy for me, it's not my strong point. I'm the Prince strategy officer, not King strategy officer. So for me, I think because I've kind of been there, and I've had 2 different recruitment jobs, right? So I've actually worked for Office Angels. I was an angel at one point.
Still are an angel.
I think only you would say that, but yeah, I think for me to answer the question, I'd be relatable as a manager. I think when I can see that someone's going through a tough time, I'd be the type to say, right, come on, let's have a chat. I know what it's like. But but just realised that, if you keep doing this, it will be different. And I think I'll be the type that's, quite supportive, and, relatively hands off, but sensitive to understanding when things are going good, and praising people, and when things are going bad, being there to support them and say, come on, let's take 5 minutes out and have a chat, and let's go for a drink and come back and,
kind of
and get on it tomorrow.
Around the shoulder.
Yeah.
I think that's fairly true.
Fairly true.
Fairly true.
Okay.
You're a bit of an annoying guy at the same time, but fairly true, 90% true. And of course you have a lot of brilliant traits, which I'll be aware of. But what do you think of the top 1 or 2 traits that you have?
I think the best trait that I've got, is being able to admit that I'm wrong.
Without a doubt.
I'm strong-minded, right? And I've got opinions, but my opinions are very flimsy. They can be blown over quite easily. If I can see, if someone proves me wrong, I love it. I love being proved wrong, because I love knowing that there's something true out there that I wasn't aware of, or I was believing in something that actually that's not right. And thank God I know that it's not right now, because I can stop looking like an idiot, basically. So it happens a lot with you and I. I'll disagree with you, and you'll present reason, and I'll say, yeah, you're right. I hate you for it, but
that's what you love me now.
Yeah, I think it's really important. If you're not willing to reflect on your own opinions and change them, then I don't like that.
Yeah, without a doubt, I can vouch for you on that one. I don't know anyone as good at that as you are. It's remarkable how frequently it happens. So
yeah, maybe
makes you think that you don't know anything at the start. Yeah, we'll move on. We'll move on.
It does make me question my kind of mindset in the first place.
No, none of that takes. And on the reverse side, what are the things you need to work on? What are your bad traits? What are the things you could improve upon?
I'm really impulsive. Really impulsive. When something happens, I'm very reactive, and impulsive. And I think sometimes I need to just calm down. And
yeah, that's impulsive on, not necessarily the big things. It's impulsive on the small things, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, I'm not impulsive when it comes to big decisions. Yeah. Like, I'll take time to think them through and we'll discuss them. But on small actions, I can be really reactive. When actually, if I just took even 10 seconds to think, okay, actually, what should we probably do here, and what is the outcome if I do this compared to if I do that? That's definitely a trait that I could improve on. But it's got its pros and cons, right? I think all of these traits do.
Without a doubt. I mean, something that we said at the start of the business, wasn't it? That you were the executioner and I was the strategist. I was the one that was going to think about things, and you were the one that was going to go out and do the do. Yeah. If you didn't have that impulsive nature, that part wouldn't have happened. So yes, it's a bad trait, but also it's an incredibly good one. It's a tool to wield almost.
Yeah, and I think actually it feeds back to, what advice would you give to someone as a first time kind of founder, which would be, make sure that if you're going to go into something with someone else, make sure your skill sets are compatible, because you couldn't have 2 of me and we couldn't have 2 of you.
Without a doubt.
Because if we had 2 of me, it would be do with no direction. And if we had 2 of you, it would just be like, oh, let's strategize over everything. And then nothing would get done. Yeah. Look at this spreadsheet.
And I think that kind of comes on to the next one that I want to talk about, which is you've had a longer career than most people that went to, through university education. You started when you were 18, you're now 26.
27.
27, of course, yeah. I forgot about that.
I'm happy with 26.
What are the key things you would tell yourself when you were 18? If you could go back, time machine, and let you know, you just got to know this, Toby, what would you say to yourself?
I think I would say stay in your own lane. And yeah, stay in your own lane. And
what do you mean by that?
I think when I was younger, what I didn't mention earlier is I did get sort of kicked out of, just kind of nudged out of school, right?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I didn't really want to mention that, but I think it's relevant to this question. And I think when that happened, I kind of felt probably somewhat like as I wasn't part of the group anymore, right? And I think I then in my head had this innate desire to be more successful and to make more money than my peers who were all going to these great universities and whatnot. And that was like my driver. Yeah, and I was like, I've got to make more money than them. And, you know, that was my number one thing. But like I was comparing myself to other people when actually I should have just thought, well, what's best for me? Because, you know, it doesn't matter what these people do. So I think don't compare, you know, without sounding too philosophical, you know, comparison is the thief of joy.
I heard Jimmy Carr say that on a podcast.
There you go.
Very true, very true. And I think it kind of comes on to, if we kind of round up, and this would be my last like formal question, which is, what actually is the most important thing that you've ever learned in your life? Like, what sticks out to you front of mind that is critical that you live by, but also maybe share with other people and so that they know as well?
I think you can have the strongest work ethic and be completely relentless in what you do and consistently persevere. But if that energy and work isn't in the right direction, it's completely wasted. So I think it comes back to, again, you know, taking a step back and thinking, because if you can put your all into something and you can really persevere and you can work harder than most people, like that's a seriously admirable trait. But paired with the wrong direction, it's a waste of energy. So that would be one thing. And I think the second thing is something that I'm still learning today, which is, you know, you've got to be really careful who you surround yourself with. Your friends do define you and influence you, whether you like it or not. And I think when I was younger, I was in complete denial about that. I was like, I'm my own person and it doesn't matter who I'm with. And then, you know, stepping back and looking at who I was hanging around with, I was with the wrong group of people and they were no good for me. You know, I'm still kicking a few to the side these days. I'm getting there. But yeah, those are probably the most important things for me.
Never heard you be so wise. Why don't you like this on a daily basis? I think we'll part that there. Thanks for sharing that. So I think your life story, your life journey is a very interesting one. I think the experiences that you had when you were younger have shaped you into the person. So thanks for sharing. I think that was really interesting. And we'll go on to a little game. Now, for anyone that's watched the reverse of this vodcast, I think the official term is for this, unless you're listening on Spotify. Play a game of quick fire questions. So, are you ready? So we're gonna actually make this one quick fire, not your one, which was like long-winded.
Yeah, I'm slow fire.
Yeah, slow fire. A bit like your.
This is gonna be like machine gun.
A bit like you're sprinting. Yum Yums or jam-filled donuts?
Both.
Can't have both types. We all know you.
Yum Yums.
Biggest fear?
Wasps.
Wasps. Knew that was coming.
Hate wasps.
Childhood hero?
My dad.
Worst person to be stuck in a lift with?
Oh, that's a tough one. Someone smelly.
Someone smelly.
Yeah.
Not naming names.
No, can't do that.
Describe your co-founder in one word. Be careful.
Strategic.
I knew you were going to say that.
There's only one word for it.
Yeah, true. What would your superhero power be?
Invisibility.
Impossible. Night in or night out?
What day of the week is it?
Wednesday.
Night in. Responsibilities.
True. Everyone should stay in. Go-to karaoke song?
That one that's like...
Do you want to just sing it? You got the mic?
Like, na 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 na, na 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 na. Yes, that one. Yeah, what's that called? Are you ready? That one, yeah.
Are you ready for love?
Yeah, that one.
Oh,
it's in the adverts.
Anyway,
it?
the listeners will know.
Yeah, gorgeous tones there.
Fantastic dulcet tones. If your life was a story, what would it be called?
A series of unfortunate events.
Very good. Can't argue with that one either. If you could win an Olympic gold medal, what would it be in?
Javelin. Easy. Love javelin.
Weird answer that.
Yeah.
Why would you not say sprinting, like 100 meters? Or...
Look, have you seen? I'm carrying weight.
You are carrying weight, which make it all the more remarkable.
You're right, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm not carrying enough weight to like put serious force behind a javelin. So it would be equally outstanding.
Well, do you know who the gold medalist for javelin is?
No.
But you know who Usain Bolt is.
Yeah, but it's not about fame. It's about knowing.
Pride.
Yeah.
Respect it.
Yeah. I don't want to be seen on the street. Do you know what I mean? I don't want people to be like, oh, you're that javelin legend. Like, no thanks.
I'm sure that's what would happen.
Yeah, but just know that I can spear you from like 80 metres away if I need to.
Well, that was an unexpected answer, but I like it. And what's your hidden talent?
I don't have a hidden talent.
Yeah, you do.
That's really boring. But do you think I've got a hidden talent?
I've never seen anyone.
Wait.
So many yum-yums in my mouth.
I can. I've got my stomach.
Pit.
My stomach is an endless pit.
Wow. It is. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's why we love you. And that is the end of our section, Utos. Thank you for being so open and candid with us, and hope everyone has learned a little bit about you.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you.